about the fans. Pretty pregnant and very hot, so my support team has joined me on stage with fans. But we're not here for that, as entertaining as that might be. We're here for Josh, so good evening. Joined by my colleagues to introduce to you Joshua Housler, who is your 2018-2019 State Vice President. My first year as an ag educator at Middletown High School was Josh's senior year. My first memory of Josh, however, was the summer of my transition from the middle school level to the high school level. I met Josh at the Delaware State Fair. He was competing in agronomy at the time, and I could see he was kind of looking in my direction like, oh, is that the new teacher? Should I go talk to her? He came over, he introduced himself, and I'm not kidding when I say he hasn't stopped talking since. So I know all about all kinds of stuff. He loves to come and visit with me, which is awesome. It's been a few years, but I've gotten to know him pretty well. Although I never had him as a student, unfortunately, I was fortunate to interact with him as a chapter officer in his senior year. I'm extremely grateful for the kindness that Josh showed me. As a new teacher in a new program, it can be difficult to kind of fit in with the group, but he always went out of his way to make me feel welcome and like I was part of the family. From plant sales, to scrapbook meetings, to our favorite YouTube videos all about the leprechauns. Josh is always good for a solid laugh and a really good time.
My journey with Josh has been one that's filled, well, he is my Josh, but it's been one that's filled with what we consider many challenges. So throughout the course of the last 6 years, he has challenged me to be a better teacher, a better advisor, and an even better mentor. What I'd like to say is that for most teachers that are in this position, they'd like to say their journey started with this person as a positive one. However, with Josh, I will share a story that tells you a different side. As a freshman, Josh challenged my teaching philosophy and perspectives as he was very adamant that we start the FFA unit and every student in my class has to recite the entire FFA creed. Well, Josh was a freshman and he emailed me. It was probably 3 pages long the night before the creed recite was supposed to take place, telling me that my expectations were unrealistic and I need to bend a little bit to help people who may not be good memorizing things achieve. I didn't bend in that situation, but what I will say is that it let me see a side that not all students are able to do things that I expect that they can do. I've since altered that assignment and more students are successful because I've listened to his input. So thank you for helping me be a better educator. As an advisor, Josh challenged me to push myself and my students to go beyond what is comfortable for them. He came through into the program at a pinnacle point in my career that I tried to push students to achieve to get specific results. He was a part of a national agronomy team that was 8th in the nation, which was the first team from Delaware in many years to get a gold emblem, and followed that up with helping practice for late night envirothon and environmental natural resource contest on a team that finished 3rd in the nation. I appreciate that he pushed me to push the students. And as an advisor or a mentor, I appreciate the long talks. Anybody who knows Josh, he'll send a text that says hi, with nothing else to it. And that means I'm ready to unload about 20 minutes worth of my problems, so please listen up. My ears were never far away, and I'm very glad that he chose me as a mentor. So, Josh, I know you can hear this, but I want to say thank you for stopping into Middletown High School 100 times a week. That's not an exaggeration. And that it is never too many times to stop by what we call home.
As you can see, Josh's journey has been quite impactful on the advisors and the members of Middletown FFA and the state of Delaware. Whether his entertainment was spitting out garlic milk, or whether it was sleeping in the dairy barn and snoring quite loud because Mrs. Vest made him be at the barn too early in the morning. He has been a huge success. And now, to provide that energy to you, his members, Delaware FFA members and guests, please help me welcome your Delaware FFA Vice President, Joshua Housler, on his retiring address, Your Shoes, Your Journey.
Who play or watch soccer, this sounds too familiar. Let's go back to 2013. Take a journey with me. Picture this. The summer sun is ridiculously hot and I'm playing my favorite sport, soccer. I'm with my brand new team and right in that moment, life is great. So after practice, I make my way home and the reality of what is ahead begins to kick in. My nerves are taking over. But I got this. I'm prepared. See, the first day of school is tomorrow, and it's comprised only of seniors and freshmen. So to put this in perspective, those with beards and those with braces, those that have their lives figured out, and those that think they have it figured out. I make my way to the assembly at school the next day. We're all pulled in this huge place with all these brand new faces, and I'm still looking. Not too bad. After we were dismissed from the assembly, we were sent to our first class. I head to Natural and Environmental Resources, the perfect elective for someone aspiring to be a future naval officer. Am I right? I am met by a quiet and chill group of students and I think to myself, this isn't that bad. Until things change really quickly. I find out that this is an ag class. I don't want to be a farmer. There's no farming in the Navy. As conflicted as I was, I realized I'm going to stick with this. It might have not been what I thought it was, but the teacher seemed to like me. I guess you could say I was determined. Because I stuck with that silly ag class, I was voluntold to attend multiple FFA events. I was told they would help me develop who I was and my leadership skills. I wanted to be a leader in the armed forces, so I was game. As long as it didn't conflict with soccer or ROTC, I was just kind of there. For those of you who are less aware of who I was at this point in my life, I was your dedicated soccer player and typical over-involved, overly motivated junior ROTC member. But why? My influence came from those we naturally look up to, family members. Specifically, my dad and grandfathers. So think about this. Pick one person who influences you. This could be a teacher, a parent, a celebrity, whoever you want it to be. When you have that person picked out, raise your hand. Seems like most of us have it picked out. Put our hands down now. For me, it was my dad and my grandfathers. So now think even deeper. Why were they your influence? What about them made you look up to them? Was it their status? Did they play a role in your life? For one, I know I looked up to my dad and grandfathers because their lives were images of success to me. Growing up, I played soccer from a young age, and that would not have been without my dad. Growing up, playing soccer, I did not have any idea what I was getting into. With all the injury setbacks, with all the down game time, and first yellow card at my freshman soccer game. With my dad, I wanted to be that soccer player he was in high school. I aspired to be just like him. My grandfathers, all three were either employed by the Navy or in the Navy in their lifetime. I wanted to be just like them. I grew up around Norfolk, Virginia, one of the largest naval bases in the world. So, we think about influence. These people had a big effect on me. Why exactly were they my influence? So growing up, my idea of success was picking what my influencers did, making it my life, still striving for more. Sort of like filling in their shoes one day. This was how I was measuring my success. This is how I was influenced. So by a raise of hands, how many of us have tried to fill in someone else's shoes? A lot of us. Sometimes they're big shoes to fill, and it's good to have goals in mind that we strive for. However, these are not our individual goals. Each pair of shoes fits differently, so why would we assume our goals would be the same? Filling in shoes. I may joke about it, but I've literally tried filling the shoes of my dad. A few things that I noticed. One, we may be similar in shoe size, but our foot shape is definitely different. I have a wide foot. Second of all, we wear the soles of the shoes differently. So the shoe walks differently than I normally would. And lastly, I know one thing's for sure. Look at our closets, we definitely don't have the same taste in shoes either. So if we don't have exactly the same taste in shoes, we don't exactly wear them the same, and we don't have the same style. Why do we wear our influencer shoes? What about us draws us to wearing their shoes? So when we are shopping, we buy our own shoes. And with that, we buy our own shape based off our individually sized foot. We wear our own style because it's individual to us. We pick out our own style because we love that style. It's only when we take that first step in our own direction that we start our own journey. Running around convention all day, I know my feet hurt. Imagine wearing your influencer's shoe right now. How bad would your feet be hurting with a shoe that doesn't fit just right? For me, wearing my grandfather's size 9 shoe would not feel great at all for my size 10.5 foot. The ones we are wearing are our shoes. And it's important that we remember that when we start our own journey, we put on our own shoes. Take these pair of shoes, for example. My OD shoes. When I decided to wear them for the first time, I decided to take my own journey. I became my own individual. Each time in our shoes or heels for us is not the same. Remember, don't compare yourself to others and be your own individual. So looking at these shoes, they've had a long, rough year. They're kind of dirty and worn out. We think about the environment I wore them in and how that had taken a toll on them throughout this year. But what if we thought about how I chose where I wore them and how my foot broke in the shoe? It's kind of like having internal versus external pressure from the outdoors versus us. Take a look at the screen. Think of the center as our heart and our mind. And think of the outside as the people who influence our lives. As individuals, it's important to have both. Take this balloon, for example. It has a perfect balance of pressure that keeps it from exploding. The air that's on the inside and the air that's on the outside. It's only when there's too much pressure from the inside or the outside that it explodes. For this next part, I'm going to need a member of the audience. Jasmine.
Oh, interesting.
Everyone, welcome to the stage, Jasmine. She's one of our VSOs from Maryland. All right, Jasmine, I have a task for you. First thing I want you to do is blow up the balloon and then just pinch it at the end when you're done. All right, now you can let go just a little bit, but not too much. What happened to the shape of the balloon?
It got smaller.
It did get smaller. What about the air from the outside affected the balloon?
It pushed it out.
Exactly. All right, so let's give Jasmine a round of applause for that. Great, Jasmine. All right, one more task. What you do is blow up the balloon and tie it when you're done. What made you stop at that point?
I want it to be the same size as your head.
Alright. Was there anyone pushing you to go farther?
No.
Has there been a time in your life where you've had one of your influences push you to go farther and reach that next step? Alright, so one last task. So press on the balloon for me, but not too hard. What happens to the shape?
It gets squished.
It's squished. What about when you let go?
It returns to where it was.
Exactly. Alright folks, I think we can learn a lot about who we are and how we're influenced and who we are as individuals from this balloon. Thanks, Jasmine. Let's give Jasmine one more round of applause. I competed in CDEs and went to state convention both my freshman and sophomore years. However, I did not sign up for that level 3 of natural and environmental resources because I thought my internal influences and external influences were pushing me away from who I was. It changed my shape and course of action. It's only when I realized something was missing from my heart and my mind that I signed up for that level 3 to return to my original shape. Has there been a time in your life where someone has pushed you away or someone has influenced you away from what you wanted to do? When we let our influence take control of who we are, we lose sight of who we are. However, when we remove them, we are not completely ourselves, nor are we pushed throughout our normal boundaries. When we balance the two, we achieve incredible results. Delaware FFA, know why you are, who you are, and what makes you a special individual. Be yourself and be comfortable in filling in your own shoes. Individuality and influence and individuality are what formulate incredible results. Delaware, find your balance and achieve incredible results.
Josh. Thank you for always being talkative, determined, ready to give your opinion, and courageous beyond default. Delaware FFA, your 2018-2019 Delaware State Vice President, Joshua Housler.